That's how you know the cold weather's a-coming, huh? Those Canadian geese aren't quiet about it. Guten gardening, everybody! Well, Guten gardening might be a little bit of an exaggeration because it is cold out here. Here in Zone 5, Wisconsin, tonight we have our first freeze warning. We've had a couple of light frosts in the last couple of weeks, but the weather's held up pretty nicely for us. Today, a freeze warning, temperatures 30 or below Fahrenheit. And so, yeah, things don't always look that great now. These are some of our green beans. The plants are all dying back. A lot of our plants have died back now, but many of the plants out here cannot handle that freeze. And so I'm going to gather up some of the last fruits of the outdoor growing season. Of course, we have a whole bunch coming for our indoor growing season, but some of the last pieces out here, we'll leave our kale out here. We'll leave a couple of those other greens that can handle the cold, but for the most part, I've got to get all my tomatoes inside, even the green ones. I've got to get the last of the peppers in. Well, you'll see. Let's go ahead and get started harvesting. Now, this has been a pretty interesting year, in my opinion, for our tomatoes because they seem to get this really late start. We still have quite a few out here that are in this stage of being green. We still have some that have already started to turn red, yellow, whatever color they are. And we've been harvesting them left and right out here. But one of the questions that's come up is what we do with all of our green tomatoes. And I'd say that's more than a fair question. If you've grown more than a couple of tomato plants, you probably have a whole bunch of green ones at the end of the season, and you don't need to throw them out. And there are some people that really love fried green tomatoes. I absolutely love fried green tomatoes for sure. Some people like to make a kind of green salsa out of them. Salsa verde, that sounds delicious too. But if you want them to ripen up, and we have a bunch of them doing this right now, you can put them in a brown paper bag, you can put them in a cardboard box. And what we've seen the best results with, and this isn't something you have to do, we've seen the best results with trying to keep them stacked in a single layer. So really not stacked at all, but spread out to let them go ahead and start to turn color. Now the recommendation is to leave a little bit of stem on here as they're ripening up. And I've also read if you have an enclosed container like a cardboard box covered with newspaper or covered with a paper bag, if you put a banana in with the tomatoes, that's supposed to help them ripen faster. Now you don't have to do that, as I said. It can take a couple of days, it can take a couple of weeks. What I found the best results with is I just set them, forget them, not too long, but forget them for a week or so. Go in and check, pull out the ones that are ripe, and then just leave them there and let more ripen up. Now again, what is your preferred method for ripening up those green tomatoes? My advice, don't throw them out. There's still a lot of deliciousness to be had in there. One thing I know for sure, we have frozen so many quarts of our volunteer cherry tomatoes this year. It has been wonderful, especially after last year when the power shut off and we lost probably 30 quarts of frozen cherry tomatoes. So we got all of that back and more in our freezer now. Peppers have been another plant that has been, for us, a little late in turning color, and we've typically liked to keep them out on the vine as late as we could to get them to change color. But with this heavy frost coming, the freeze coming, tomatoes and peppers, they don't like that. And so all the green peppers that are out here, even the ones that are turned partially, we're going to go ahead and get those off the vine, get those harvested and bring them inside. Now, the goal here is to use them up as we go. Sometimes we still chop them up, even chop them up with some onions and get them frozen that way. They last a lot longer than that. If you don't freeze them, they're going to get soft and they're going to get squishy. And you can still eat them for a while, but they'll go bad within the first couple of weeks of harvest. Well, it looks like we've got a couple more of our squash out here to harvest as well. Winter squash have been really good to us this season. Between the home garden and the community garden, we've harvested about 280 pounds of winter squash. That has been phenomenal. And while our eggplant haven't necessarily been as productive as in years past, we've still been able to harvest a decent number of eggplant. And I don't know about you, but I think eggplant goes in a lot of different recipes, and it's a great vegetable even steamed. We like to put our eggplant roasted with some of our sweet potato, some of our winter squash, all of that roasted together, some of our peppers as well. That makes a great garden veggie mix in the oven. Do you see where I'm at right now? I'm in here with our heritage red raspberries. So even though it's this late in the season and we're about, I see a little insect critter crawling on there, that's all right. Even though we're about to get this freeze, we've still got some of these berries out here, and they are super, super sweet. Oh, phenomenal. You're gonna probably notice I'm wearing blue jeans. I actually didn't have a chance to get in the house because I got home. I wanted to get out here in the garden. It's not my typical garden attire, but that's okay. You see the buckets where we harvested our potatoes from earlier this season. If you didn't check out that video, we just released it. You should check that out. But underneath me, growing in our compost, is what's left of our winter squash, which isn't much, but the fact that they've been producing for 3+ months is phenomenal. And as I look down here, I can see there's one left on here for us to harvest. And I gotta be honest with you, for all the chaos that it looks like right now, this is by far the longest lasting summer squash. Oh, there's the other one over there. And I would say most prolific summer squash we've ever grown here. The time is definitely up. This is the remains here, but actually I think there are a few more out front. And I gotta tell you, these container squash haven't looked great for a while, but the fact that even in this state of decreasing health, we're still able to get a couple more off here, I think that's super cool. We'll take a couple more zucchini inside. Well, this isn't surprising at all, but you see this bit of brown right here? That's what's left of our cucumbers. And the reason I'm showing you this is that little yellow dot right over there, because that dot isn't actually so little. It's a cucumber that I left on here to go ahead and get nice and yellow, because now the seeds should be mature enough in this one, and I've got another one over here. I can cut this open and collect the seeds from this. Can you hear all those Canadian geese? They know where to fly. They know where to fly. They know the weather's getting cold. So we've been hearing this the last couple of days, the last couple of weeks. Let me see if I can get a picture of it. They are heading south. Wow. That's how you know the cold weather's a-coming, huh? Those Canadian geese aren't quiet about it. So what I was going to say just now before I got interrupted by all these Canadian geese, if you have a variety of plant, like a tomato, an heirloom tomato variety, a cucumber like this, something that performed really well for you, it grew really well in your soil, then go ahead, get out there and save some of it for seed, because you're planting it next season. You never know what the results are going to be, but this is something we definitely do each year, year over year. We've been saving seeds for years now, but this is a key ingredient here, a key component. Now you see this beautiful yellow plant right here? Was just recently turned yellow. This is our asparagus, and we've been out here collecting the seeds over the last couple of weeks. These reddish, orangish reddish berries that contain multiple seeds in each one. You know, this is something that we typically make part of our seed share, some of these asparagus seeds. And this is one of those plants where you have to have patience, 3 or 4 years worth of patience, but if you do, you're gonna get some of the first vegetables of the season come spring from this asparagus. Now the color of this asparagus, it's all beautiful, it's all yellow. This is the time where we're gonna cut it back to the ground for next season. All right, check this out. We've got some broccoli florets from this broccoli plant. It didn't actually perform all that well for us this season, but now it's providing us with a bunch of florets that we can take inside. And that's actually been the case for some of our other plants that we removed the broccoli crowns from earlier in the season. We left them out here and they've been producing florets ever since. You know, if I'm being honest, there's something that I do like about the changing of the seasons out here. You know, of course, I'd love to have a growing season 30, 40 days longer, that warmer weather, but I still like the change from the warm to the cool to the cold and then back up. Because if you don't ever experience that change, then maybe, well, I don't know, you tell me. is coming back out of that as special? Is seeing what happens in the spring as special if you don't experience the change? I don't know. I've never actually lived in a growing zone where I could garden all year round. And actually, I think that some of those growing zones where it gets so hot, you have kind of the opposite problem of what we have, because how do you garden when it's 110, 115 degrees out? What can you grow? It can't be that easy. So I'm not going to complain about the changing of the weather, especially when we're benefited enough. We have a nice enough space inside where we can keep growing some of our fresh greens. Well, some of the last vegetables out here are kale. Check out these beautiful giant red mustard greens. Still out here, still growing, still looking strong. They'll be able to handle some of this colder weather. Our kale especially. I mean, we've grown that stuff all the way through the middle of December. We have a couple of other things out here that have gone to seed that we need to collect, some of our radishes. I'll get that done. But I wanted to get you out here and see that kind of mad dash to get everything in, to let you know that we experience it just like you do. I know when you see that frost coming, you get out there, cover everything with your sheets. I know when you see a freeze coming, you look and think, well, which vegetables can actually make it out there? I get it. We're there too, right along with you. Hey, we hope you enjoyed today's harvest video. I know it was a quick one, but I hope that you've had a wonderful growing season. We've got so much more planned for you. Have you noticed the number of potato and sweet potato harvest videos? We've got even more coming your way, because we did a whole bunch of growing this year, and we've only shown you about half of it. Well, hey, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, here with us, you are good to grow.